G'day all, Ben here, East West. This is going to be part 3 of our series on building a charting platform using Python. So let's just jump into the code. So here we are again back on our Jupyter Notebook. Nothing's changed here. This is just going to be part 3. So this is everything that we just put together up until part 2. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to work on making the actual main window. We're just going to work on that in this part, and we're just going to make that a little bit more workable. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to set the main window to be a full screen. So when we open it up, it'll take up our entire screen, because that's kind of more the way you'd expect an application to work. So to do that, we're just going to introduce this line of code, screen width equals root.winfo underscore screen width. So all this is doing is this is retrieving the amount of pixels there are going across whichever screen you're using. And then we just want to do exactly the same thing for the screen height. Okay, so we're just getting it to count how many pixels are available going across, how many pixels are available going down. And then once we have that information, we can just bring in this last line of code, root geometry. So this is the same up here. So what we actually need to do now is delete that, because we don't want it 1000 by 1000. We are now going to set the screen width by the screen height. Now this +0, what this means is this coordinates to start drawing from like the top left corner from 0, 0. So if you imagine a square, imagine if this was the square, 0, 0 would be the first pixel. So it's just saying from here, make it all the way out to there. So if we run this now, just make sure that everything's run. But if we rerun this, you can see now that it might be a little bit difficult to see there. It's just the way that I've sort of got the screen set up. But hopefully on your screen, it'll now take up the entire page. Okay, and we can run it, and now you've got this great big window that's taking up the entire page. Now what I want to do next is, when I looked at this, I thought, well, I don't want all my commands and all my menus and stuff up the top here. I want to put them over here on the left hand side. I'm having going down the side of the page. So what we'll do next is we'll take this stuff that we've got here, just the starting stuff, and we're going to move it all the way over to here, over to the left hand side. And then we want to sort of work then on getting the chart to be more filling up the space that's left over. So let's get a start on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a frame for the widgets on the left hand side. Now we make sure that this code goes in before we start creating said widgets. Okay, so we need to tell the code whereabouts we want these widgets before we start to create them. So the first thing we need to do is to create the frame. So we can think of a frame. We've just brought in this line of code here. We can think of a frame. We're just going to call it frame. So we just go ttk.frame with a capital F there. Now we put in root, because that's the parent window. So the frame is going to be like a window that sits within the main window. So it's going to be like a little little panel that it's sort of off on its own. So it's going to be part of the main window, but it's going to contain all our widgets. So it's going to be like our menu window, if you like. So the width is just going to be, we've just set here to 20% of the actual screen width, and the height is going to be the same as the screen height. Now there's a couple of other changes we have to make here. As we start going down, when we start to create the entry widgets, they're put into the root, into the parent column. So what we need to do is actually go into here and make this frame, because we want it to now be in that little side section. Okay. And we also need to change this to frame. And we need to change this to frame there. And we need to change this. Actually, this one we don't want to change. The reason being that this is the chart itself. So it's not going to sit within the menu. It's going to sit out on its own. But we need to now get this chart positioned correctly, because at the moment this chart would not be positioned correctly. And I've just realized that I've actually just missed a line of code, which actually has to go back up in here. So what we actually have to do is to insert this line of code because we're just managing the geometry of the whole thing. So, you know, we need to put a pack sort of line of code in here. So frame.pack side is going to equal tk left. So we're going to put this on the left-hand side of the chart, and fill equals tky. That just means that we're going to put it on the left-hand side of the chart, but it's going to be the size of the entire screen. And also, sorry, did I explain this? Fill equals tk both. So effectively what we're doing here is we're just telling the program when it puts out the chart, the label, which is the chart, because the chart at this stage is a label. We just want the label to fill out all the available space that is taking into account the fact that we've now created this frame. So now when we run this, I'll just run it. I just have to adjust my screen a little bit so you can see, but I'll run. It should look this way on your own screen. Just move this down a touch, but you can see now that we've got everything up here in this corner. And then when we call a chart up and fetch that chart, you can see it's actually lined up here. Okay, so you can't quite see it, but there is a line there that separates, that demarcates this. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, well, why is this chart so small? Well, the reason being that this is a label. So we do have to make another change in order for this to fill out the entire space. But one step at a time. So next what we're going to do is I'm just going to bring in a visual line. So we just want an actual visual separator here so you can see where our little widget here, our little menu, sidebar menu is, and where it stops, and where the chart starts. So let's just jump in and do that really quickly. So we're just down here below the fetch and display button. We're going to put in create a vertical spacer. So the separator is going to equal ttk.separator with a capital S there. The root is the parent window we're working with here. The orient or the orientation is going to be a vertical separator. Okay, so it's going to run up and down the page. Now next we're just going to bring in the separator.pack function just to tell the code where to put that line. So we're going to put it on the left hand side of the root. And remember now the root's been split up by the frame and the root. So on the left hand side of the root, we're going to fill it all the way from top to bottom. And this line here, this PADX equals 10, all that really does is it just adds 10 pixels of padding either side of the vertical line. Okay, so let's just run this again. And I'll just move this down so you can see it. But you can see now that vertical line that's just run down there, that just sort of visually breaks it up. And if we just bring up another chart, there we go. So you can see like that PADX equals 10 has just put 10 pixels between this, and there's 10 pixels between that. So that's all that's done. Okay, so that's fine. The next thing I want to do is it's a little bit clunky to have to like click up here every time. Pardon me. Is it on screen? No, it's probably not because it's too wide. Is to click up here every time we need to shut that window down. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm just going to bring in an exit button because that one's very fast and very easy. So let's just do that. So we're just going to create the exit button, but like the exit button to me, it probably should be the last button on the menu. So I'm just going to put it down here at the bottom, but it's quite an easy thing to bring up. So we're just going to bring in exit button equals ttk.button. So it's exactly the same as where we made this fetch button up here. But we're going to put it in the frame again, the same as up here. The text is going to say exit. Now the command here is just simple. It's just root.destroy. Okay, so all it does is it shuts down the window. Okay, and then the exit button .pack will just space it out the same way. So when we run this again, now you can see we've got an exit button, and when we press that, it'll shut the application down like that. So that's quite easy and straightforward and a bit neater. So I think we've just nipped and tucked away here a little bit and just made a little bit of progress, made it a little bit neater. So the next thing we want to do, I'll leave this one here, but in part 4, what we're going to do is we're going to start to work on getting this chart much more in the context of the entire screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to not bring up this chart as so much as a label, but we're going to start working with something more called more a canvas. So we'll do that in the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.